Hey friends, I missed you. I'm sorry it's been a while, but toddler be toddlering and trying to get daylight hours, I say as the sun is literally setting behind me, are very hard to come by. So we're going to do a bit of this in my nighttime mum art hours, but I wanted to have a new try and test because I got something in the mail from a very cool YouTube creator, and we're going to have a bit of a play, but not quite the normal way. I'm sure you can tell what we're doing from the title, so let's get into it. Bubs is asleep, but we're filming outside because then I don't get in trouble with being too loud. Oh! This is what we got in the mail. Sorry that wasn't the most beautiful unwrapping ever, but this is Vibrant Wilds, the new colouring book from Sarah Renae Clark. Oh, I love the gold foil. Look at that shiny. So let's have a little looky-loo. Oh, the hardcover. That makes such a difference. Gosh, so many of my colouring books are just slippy floppy and I need to carry basically a hardcover book or something similar if I want to colour in them when I'm on the go. This is a book between... Oh, I need a pen. That's such a nice touch that I get to add my name in. This book is an art collaboration between Sarah and... Liz Gridley. That's me. Hooray. Wait, come on. No! Alright, well, people who keep pristine colouring books, I apologise if in any way my video makes you uncomfortable because I've already made it yucky by flicking a bug, and to be fair, I'm a bit of a chaos artist, so the wild seems like a really good idea for me, I think. Alright, so when it comes to my first impressions, definitely this paper is so nice and thick. Listen, it makes a great noise. Yes! I don't think it's 300 GSM, but it's definitely sort of at least 150, I'd say. Does not tell us, but yeah, Sarah's included here some techniques about colour pencil and things like that. There's a test page at the end of the book. Ooh, let's have a look at that. Sneak peek. Art supplies test page. That's such a good idea. Can you see through to the other side? You can. Ooh, okay. There's some recommendations there about different art supplies you can use and different techniques. She hasn't mentioned oil paint, but I'm here to change your mind. Let's take the book inside, shall we?
So we're hitting the ground running. Step 1 when wanting to oil paint in a colouring book is priming. We need a surface that not only won't let the oil paint or the oil content specifically seep into the page, which unfortunately when drying would make the paper rot over a long period of time, but we also need a surface that has a little bit of tooth for the paint to grip onto. So for this I'm using Art SPectrum Clear Gesso. I really like this gesso because it's matte as a finish. Some gessos or primers like GAC 100 by Golden, they're a little bit glossy. And then you can also do other things for priming, things like masking. Here I'm using some really terrible quality washi tape. My apologies, there are no satisfying peely situations later. But I wanted to mask some sections of the page so that I could have an area that still was black and white lines after I'd done some heavy oil painting. I also wanted to do an extra layer of watercolours to give myself a medium toned ground. That is something that's not white to start on. This is just watercolour paint slapped on with a tissue to create some texture. I sometimes, when the pages are not quite dry, use paper to interleave just to make sure that things don't get stuck together, but I wanted to choose a couple of different pages to prime. I know I definitely change my mind a whole bunch with colouring books where I'll think I want to paint one thing or draw one thing and then I'll change my mind and want to do another one, so I'm really glad that Vibrant Wilds has so many varieties of content. This here is a portrait. You know I've got to do a portrait, it's me. I love doing skin and things, but I will admit this one's going to be challenging because I won't have a reference photo to go off, so intrigued. Gloopy just so. When you're gessoing, I always recommend 2 layers just to make sure that there's no accidental areas that you haven't covered, and just to make sure that it's going to be a very cohesive coat for the oil paint to grip onto. For this one, I also decided to tone my ground, but instead of using watercolours, I'm mixing a little bit of acrylic with some clear gesso, and I forgot to shake up my tube. I barely ever use my acrylic, so this one had all separated. It's fine once you mix it together. By putting this on, I've just got, again, something that isn't quite white to start on, meaning I don't need to layer up my oil colours as much if I want some opacity. I really like starting on toned grounds, and with my normal oil paintings, I almost never start on white, so this makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. The other thing I wanted to do with this spread was make it a spread, so I decided to just add a few teeny weeny little black lines continuing Sarah's style from one page to the next to link all those flowers to the ring around the girl's head, just so that way it looked like one cohesive piece. I don't know how you make decisions on line art as a colouring book maker, because even this tiny little edition, I'm like, but what do I want? I don't know. Decisions. Alright, first one, we're going to give Squirrel Boy a go. I actually painted this one on live stream, so please hit subscribe if you would like to see me live streaming here on YouTube and on Twitch. I do like painting live, it's really, really fun. This one I was just excited to jump straight in. I used my normal palette and I just absolutely went in with those autumnal colours. Oh, big reveal, I'm sorry my battery died when I was filming that one. But yeah, squirrels are just such fluffy cute little boys. I put glassine paper on my paintings once they're dry, so that way they don't stick to the page opposite, and it just keeps it all archival. So that way I can leave the colouring book on the shelf and I know it's not going to stick the pages together gradually over time as the oil paints continue to oxidise and harden. That's my little squirrel boy! As you can see, there's a couple of other pages in there I did some little watercolour priming and little bits and pieces on, but I thought next I'm going to jump straight into that grey butterfly page that I covered. I tend to use very soft brushes when I'm painting in a colouring book because I want those precision going up to the line motions. It's not something where I want big expressive brush strokes. So I'm just using a little taklon brush and I'm using my quick dry medium. I think in this one I'm either using Liquin Fine Detail by Winsor Newton or medium number 4 Liquol by Art Spectrum. They're essentially the same thing. They're both Alkyd oil mediums. That is an oil medium that is designed to evaporate off faster and therefore dry in about 1 to 2 to 3 days, depending on how thick your paint is. I find them really handy for these sort of projects because of course I have to leave the book lying flat when it's drying. I can't sort of tuck it away in the bookshelf and it continue to dry. For this page I wanted to have one butterfly that was really bright and eye-catching, and then have all the other butterflies in sort of a monotone. I've actually spent the last 2 months doing underpaintings for my next solo show, and they're all in indigo and white as the undertones, so I've been using a lot of that indigo colour. I'm also using this little fuzzy buffer brush by Princeton, which is recently one of my favourites, just to smooth out all the oil strokes, all the brush strokes I guess, in the background areas. It really feels like using a powder brush but for painting. So I'm really enjoying him. I wish they came in more sizes though. He only really comes in the one size. This is in their soft touch range, or velvet touch range. Yeah. There's nothing really wrong with using random other brushes like actual makeup brushes, but the problem with that is then if they drop hairs or if they're not stable enough for oil paint. At this point, I'll admit, I was starting to lose my patience with all the fiddliness of so many teeny tiny butterflies, so I decided, maybe it's quicker if I just paint over all the butterflies in blue, because I want them all to be monotone anyway, and then I can just add the highlights. Because the great thing about oil paint is you can paint a darker colour in and then just go over the top with a little bit of white on your brush, and it mixes in with the same colour and just lightens it up a little bit. So I thought, oh, this will be a time save, I'll have a bit more fun this way. I'll admit I got bored. I got this far into it and I was just like, I'm sick of butterflies. I just want the satisfaction of it being done. But I decided, for once, I'm not going to force myself. I'm not going to force myself to do a page if I'm bored, or if I've run out of oomph, or if I'm looking for dopamine somewhere else. So I took off all the mochi tape. Actually, that peel wasn't too bad. And then I got the look of what the effect is, but it's not finished, and that's okay. I could always go in and paint this again. I literally only would need to add a buff in of blue and then go in with white again and get more of them. You get the idea of what I was going for. Came back another day and went, okay, what do I feel like doing today? I felt like doing the portrait. It is me, come on, I'm a portrait painter, I love faces. And as much as this is a challenge because I don't have a reference photo to go off with shading and values and shadows and actual 3D form, I'm like, I'm gonna give it a go. I thought, let's just jump in. There's no risk with colouring books. You've got something to go off. This isn't a finished artwork that's going to go on an exhibition wall necessarily. Let's just have some fun. Started with some darks, added some shadows, went in with my midtones, and just started buffing it all together. It really felt like putting makeup on someone's face doing this sort of thing, because I had the structure there and then I was just sort of creating contours. So, very interesting. The other thing I was doing was actually looking at, I have a little face cast of my own head on the floor, and I used that as a shadow reference. So because that was getting sunlight through the window, it showed me where the shadows were under the eyebrows, going into the eyelids and going down the cheek. So yeah, I was sort of loosely looking at that while I was going. My other thought was I could get a mirror out and use my own head as a reference that way, but I was not that organised. Another thing I love about oil paints is just the push and pull. I was able to just sit there and play with making areas darker and then lighter, more defined or more softened, and really play with the expression on her face. When I kept putting in those darks around the mouth, she'd go from smiling to sort of looking surprised to looking a bit pensive. Tried to make sure I was getting across the whole face and not getting too obsessed with one area at a time, but that's always a bit of a struggle because you find fun parts in paintings that you just want to do. Decided she'd be a bit of a blonde, ashy blonde, I think we'd call it, just because those were the colours I had on the palette, and get a little bit of nice warmth into the lips. And of course I'm avoiding the teeth until the last minute because painting teeth is always so tricky. You need a colour that's dark enough but not light enough, and it's definitely not white, it's just sort of a shadow colour. Tricky, tricky stuff. But I had a lot of fun noodling around on it. Oh, and those little highlights, of course, are the fun bit. Oh, my poor little brush. Look at all those squiggly hairs. I need to get some more tiny fine brushes, I think. Especially if I'm going to do this a bit more often. Awesome. So I had a portrait. Now I had to figure out flowers. Which admittedly are not my particular forte, but colouring books are for fun, so let's have fun. Oh, I did show you that this is my little face cast. It's orange because I put a framing wire in the back, but you can see there how the shadows are going down the face, and that's just what I was using as a reference to know where to put shadows on the head to give it a real 3D form. But yeah, the picture wire started coming through the front of the cast while the plaster was wet, and then it rusted, so that's why it's got weird marks on it. Back at my home studio, I've got the oil paints out again, and I'm just having fun. I did realise that I should do that thing where if I've mixed up one colour, just keep using that colour. So I did a bunch of leaves first, and then I sort of jumped in with the flowers. Some of them looked a lot more like succulents, and then some of them looked more like flowers, and I kept changing my mind, trying to integrate a little bit of shadow into those big pink ones to match the face, but I ultimately struggled with sort of integrating shadows into all the flowers without reference photos for all the flowers. So I think that's just a knowledge gap that I have is really how light hits flowers, and that's my fault for not painting flowers a lot. I've got other artists who are friends who are absolutely amazing. If anyone wants to give a Google for Jenny Ulnert, she's absolutely amazing at flowers. Narelle Zeller, she's amazing at flowers. Sarah Hannaford's another Australian artist who's amazing at flowers. And it's just something I haven't put any time into. Even this flower, I was like, yes, I'll do him white. It'll be nice and bright. And then I just kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth every 5 minutes, changing it up. But that's kind of the appeal of oil paint, is that you can just keep changing it. This one out here in the corner, I love doing this one because he had those vertical lines. I knew I could just absolutely build a highlight into the middle of the petal and give it that sort of curve. So that was quite fun. And I have a little piece of washi tape just so that way I preserve one little bit of the black and white lines. I've changed that middle flower a little bit more. This guy I've decided to go straight in with the turquoise paint. I really wanted to bring some more turquoise into it so it linked to the little hoop around her head, but having a lot of fun. I've also started filling in some of the background with more white paint just to freshen it up a bit. I ended up going a bit over the watercolour splat. Here's Dipper, she just turned 4. Way back when I got Dipper, I did a little video about it in a studio assistant in the back end of my YouTube somewhere. But she's 4 now, she's still a good little studio assistant. Alright friends, so how did we do? How did we do? How did we do? Ding. Blah. Our first little one was Squirrel Boy. I'm really happy with how all the colours came out on this one. I like all this texture here in the tail. You can really see the little brush strokes and how the paint is transparent. So this one's using the transparent burnt oxide, I think, or transparent red oxide, sorry. And even through the body of the squirrel there is really cute. I think my colours were pretty cutesy, maybe a little bit more normal. Let me just move that ding cup out of the way. Yeah, but overall I think he's a cute little button. And again, as an Australian, the novelty of squirrels is really underrated. They're really cute. We have possums who admittedly are also adorable, but because we don't have these little fast fluffy tail boys, we love them. So novelty of being Australian. Haha. Then we've got my page I abandoned for now, which is the butterfly page. I still stand by abandoning this when I did, because forcing yourself to do something when you're just not feeling it is the easiest way to give up on the craft entirely. And I know I love oil paint, and I know I was not in the mood to do a whole bunch of butterflies. But I stand by this technique in that doing like some monotone butterflies and then doing the one super colourful one is quite fun. I also love the background filled in and letting the mid-tone really helped, I think, develop the colours. I think if anything, it just needs a lot more contrast and just a lot more time. If I gave this another 4 hours, it would be freaking cool. And I also love the tape border, just showing that black and white design. I really like that contrast with this like really heavy medium on the paper. It just lets it breathe a little bit and it just looks fun. So that's good. But here's our final reveal. Da-da-da-da! This is my floral girl. There still obviously is a bit of a disconnect between the flowers and her, just because I don't have a lot of experience in flowers. I tried to develop shadows in some of the bigger ones to reflect the shadow relationship on her face, but I just didn't really nail it in the small ones. But come on, for someone who doesn't do flowers very much, I freaking love this page. I'm so happy with her. Especially, yeah, again, having this one little peekaboo of the black and white design is just so fun. And I think the paint, I don't know, very an imaginary person from a colouring book design. I'm so happy with her. There isn't really any lines showing through on her face, but I know it's pretty true to what was there. I definitely worked on the opacity of this a bit more than the squirrel, because if we go back to the squirrel, I made more of an effort to retain the lines and keep it very transparent. You can especially see that there in the tail. But in this one, yeah, I had so much fun. And look, the book is ever so slightly buckled, but set that under a phone book for a little while, it'll be fine. And that nice heavy cover means it naturally wants to sit flat, which is awesome. So yeah, excuse me for filming in almost darkness again, but I am so happy with this one. And thank you so much to Sarah Renae Clark for providing the Vibrant Wilds book to me to have a go with. And also I am now an affiliate with Sarah Renae Clark, so there is an affiliate link down in the description. So if you want to buy a copy of the book yourself, or if you want to check out her free colouring pages, her amazing blog, which has reviews of so many things, like as an art materials nerd, love all the technical information. And there's some new blogs coming out about light fasteners as well, which are just look amazing. Yeah, there's so much on the website, so go down and click the link, and anything you might go through and download or buy, then that also helps support the channel here. I'm still hoping to do more and more videos as we're getting more settled into you know, working art mum life, but I'm very, very happy just to be able to put this one out there and have some fun, because art's meant to be fun. And I love my big projects, and I love working authentically to myself on more emotional subjects and more intense pieces, but every now and then you just gotta have some fun. So highly encourage, oil paint or otherwise, go have a colour, and don't forget to wash your brushes. Bye.
Gratuitous sunset footage. Nowhere near as pretty as in real life. Boom. So shiny. So shiny. Woo! Seriously, foil should be on everything.
I remember the sign-off line. Yeah. One more gratuitous sunset shot just for the end of the video. Boom.